this is Chris Buckholz, and in this video we're going to talk about improvising, and I'm specifically gearing this talk towards classical players who may have zero experience improvising on the trombone. Jazz players, that's just a normal part of what you do, and learning to improvise well on the instrument is already incorporated into your daily practice. Otherwise, you just can't function as a jazz player. But in classical music, improvising is definitely not something that's taught. It's not something we even talk about. But there are lots of good benefits to improvising. First of all, it's fun. It's just fun to make something up and be free of the constraints of I have to play this note perfect and I have to follow the ink exactly. Secondly, it allows you to expand your creative side of your intelligence, which is located in the right hemisphere of your brain. We call this playing from the right side of the brain. When you're a strict classical player is only playing things that are written out on the page, that is a left brain activity. Improvising is primarily a right brain activity, and this allows you to take a more creative, artistic approach, not only to improvising, but you can carry that over into solo playing, and you can carry that over into ancillary things like composition and arranging, which are really just extensions of improvising. It requires more knowledge of scale patterns and arpeggios and basic theory, chord structures, than if you're just playing things off the page where you don't really have to pay attention to that stuff. But that's a good skill to have too. It's not a bad thing to be able to look at, when I'm playing orchestral music, be able to spell chords quickly so that I can figure out, okay, well, I'm on the third of the chord here, or I'm on the seventh, or what the heck is this chord? Is this some kind of half diminished or diminished? And know what I need to do with my slide to correct for whatever interval I have. So there are good things about this. Or, I've literally been playing brass quintet music and there are mistakes in the part, and I got to fix it. And I go, okay, well, now what do you have in the trumpets? Okay, what does the French horn have? What does the tuba have? Okay, well then, yeah, sure, this is an E dominant seventh chord, and I need to have a D flat here instead of a D natural. So there are really good things about improvising for classical musicians that go beyond just the joy of making up music. And one of the things you can do before you even get into making up things wholesale is to embellish. So here's a example of a Bordoni vocalise that we're all familiar with. And let me embellish it for you. So that's an example of taking an existing melody and embellishing it. And yes, I realize that for some people this is sacrilegious. Why would you take something that was composed by somebody and embellish it, change it? Well, guess what? This is what Beethoven and Mozart would do when they would sit down and improvise and impress their wealthy royal patrons with improvisations. I mean, Beethoven made his career in Vienna improvising for people, taking basic tunes and improvising a theme and variations on the spot. Mozart would do this with royalty for a song for maybe their name day, which was more important than the birthday, and improvise tunes for the royals right there with their name day tune as a base and improvise around it. So there is important precedent for this. Obviously, it's been much less since about 1800, but it is a part of classical music. It is a part of classical training, and it is not something that we need to recoil from in horror. I'm in the process of writing a book about improvising classical music that you may find helpful, that goes into the nuts and bolts of improvising in a late 18th, 19th century classical style that you might find to be fun and helpful. And it's definitely something that you can do if you're already somebody who is a classical player. So to sum it up, there's a lot of really great things that you can do with improvising to enhance your creativity as an artist. And you are an artist, whether or not you play in an orchestra, or you are a soloist, or a teacher, or a jazz musician. We are artists fundamentally. And to be able to take musically informed, correct choices that enhance the personality of music, that aren't necessarily exactly notated that way. Great orchestra musicians do this stuff all the time. And I hope you check out my book when it comes out. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at cbuckholz@unm.edu. But in the meantime, don't be afraid to take some of those standard tunes that you guys know and embellish them, rather than playing the same way over and over and over again, which is fine, but hey, try embellishment to get your feet wet. And that's all for now. See you in the next video.